In the 90s, there were lots of cartoons for kids. You had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as the top tier, and then you had other shows with lots of tube coming out the woodwork, like Street Sharks, SWAT Cats, Biker Mice from Mars, and others. One of these that showed up briefly was Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars, a cartoon about a team of space freedom fighters trying to save a parallel universe from becoming a captive stomping ground of the evil Toad Empire. Based on a comic that was put out in 1984, it premiered to United States viewers in 1991. The show only had 13 episodes, assumedly washed out by the aforementioned flood of similar programming. Despite its extremely short run, however, it's often remembered fondly by those that got an opportunity to experience it. The show was popular enough to spawn a wealth of merchandise such as toys and 2 video games, one that was only in the arcades and one that landed on the Nintendo Entertainment System simply titled Bucky O'Hare. Hey guys, DpadDanny back again, and today we'll be talking about this platforming gem by Konami. Bucky O'Hare is one that I passed on picking up a few times, and regrettably saw the cost rise and rise over the last few years. A few weeks ago, my buddy John Meadows located a copy in rough condition. I mean, look at this thing. Whoever was selling it had it in a lot of similar condition games and was letting them all go for cheap. Long story short, I got mine for $15, which is well below the average price. Outer condition aside, the game works flawlessly, and I finally got a chance to play what I've always heard was a fantastic game. Spoiler, it is in fact a fantastic game. The game begins with Bucky's transport vessel getting sideswiped by the Toads, resulting in his crew being scattered to different planets. Naturally, he needs to go rescue them. These planets can be tackled in any order. There's the yellow planet that has lots of craters and is surrounded by an asteroid belt, the green planet that is lush and forested as you might imagine, the volcanic and cavernous red planet, and the icy blue planet. After finishing the planet's many areas and defeating the boss, you rescue your captive crewmate. After rescuing them, you can switch to them at will by pressing the select button. Each crewmate has their own distinct strengths that you can use to navigate the various areas. Your little android buddy, Blinky, for example, can destroy certain blocks and can hover for a short distance. Willy, the preteen human engineer, can charge his gun to become a more powerful shot. Deadeye shoots in a short-range multi-shot and can also climb on walls for a limited time. And Jenny has a powerful but slow-moving psionic energy blast. Bucky has his strengths too, as he can fire upwards, downwards while he's in the air, and also has a high jump that's good for getting to hard-to-reach areas. Using all the characters' strengths together is imperative if you hope to get through the game. Oftentimes I'd sit and look at a section like, how the hell am I supposed to do this? And then I'd be like, oh yeah, this guy does this thing. It's a mechanic that works out really well and adds a lot to the game. Speaking of really well, the music is fantastic here. Lots of really cool, upbeat, rockin' tunes to be had. Honestly, you'd be hard-pressed to find a single song in the game that isn't impressive. I really like the Red Planet's music that you're hearing here, but it's all great. The graphics are really appealing too, and there's lots of neat visual effects presented throughout the game, particularly in the later stages, but we'll get to that. After rescuing the crew, wouldn't you know it, it's a trap! And you and your friends get captured once again by the Toads. What you have here is a plethora of challenging areas to navigate through to get your crew back, which, yeah, this seems like a good time to mention the difficulty. This game is hard. I mean really hard. A lot of the screens throughout the game took me many tries to get through. Sometimes stuff will just happen, and if you don't know what's coming, you're dead. It's very much like Mega Man in that aspect, lots of trial and error. Some areas are just inherently hard, like the ice physics on the blue planet. These are super slippery. Unlike most games where you can jump and reset your position, this one has you continue to slide a set distance even after jumping to stabilize yourself. Then you add these Battletoads-style snakes to the mix. I died a ton here. The red planet has one spot where you race flowing lava, not unlike what you'd see in Quickman's stage in Mega Man 2. Until you figure out which way to go and execute it almost perfectly, you're going to be playing this part over and over again. Despite the game's difficulty level, it's extremely fair in the sense that not only does it give you unlimited continues, but it also restarts you on the screen you game overed on, even when it's on a boss. None of that replay the stage before the boss gimmick. So you get captured and you need to navigate through the gauntlet of traps and such to rescue your friends. As if this wasn't bad enough, when you finally reach each captive crew member, they're hit with a hypnosis beam that results in them turning on you. Once you beat them back to their senses, they join you and you're once again able to use them moving forward. After rescuing everyone, it's time to escape the Toad's magma tanker. You thought the cell had some tough areas, but once you start navigating towards the magma core, things go from tough to ridiculous. They really throw everything at you that they can. There's slugs that attach themselves to your head, dark areas full of potholes, lots and lots of spikes, and this guy. This boss took me a while. He might have been the hardest boss in the game for me. Otherwise, the bosses are challenging but not too bad, especially with the unlimited continues. Some of them can be tricky at first, like this Toad Dozer machine, but once you figured out which parts you should destroy in which order, you'll find yourself being able to make relatively short work of it. Once you reach the core, there's even more nonsense thrown at you, like these areas that move in and out of each other that require precision movement to get through, and these rotating sections. This is really cool, but man, I died a lot here as well. Finally, you'll come to the ship's computer system, and this fight is no slouch. There's so much you have to pay attention to here, between the laser cannon at the top, the guns in front of you, and the constantly spawning rocket toads. But after taking out the front guns and blasting away the glass mother brain style, you'll be able to deliver some pain and punishment to the predominant processor. With the computer destroyed and the carrier in near meltdown, it's time to escape with your life. This last section has you flying through the escape corridor while avoiding spikes, walls, and toad deserters that are struggling to escape themselves. They'll grab onto you and weigh you down if you don't shake them off. Eventually, you'll fight the Toad's escape ship as it tries to gun you down. Keeping up with the theme of the entire game to this point, this fight will be a group effort. Bucky can shoot front and back simultaneously in this mode, which is really helpful when you're in front of the ship. As you get some clearance and the ship starts going around you, switching to Deadeye or Blinky is a good choice so you can continue doing damage to the turrets that line the sides. Then when firing at the engines from behind, Willy or Jenny are both great choices for a little bit more firepower. Rinse and repeat and you'll eventually take the Toads out. Finally, it's over, right? Nope! As a last-ditch effort, the Toad Air Marshal starts throwing bombs at you as you race to escape the corridor with the fiery magma explosion close behind. Put him in his place and it's home free for our heroes. The ending makes mention that the fight is far from over, but as we all sadly know, for all intents and purposes, the legacy of Bucky O'Hare just kinda stops here. But the fun memories people have of the show and the resulting video games will live on. It's a shame that I didn't get a chance to play this one until now because it's just such a good game. The music, the graphics, the challenge, the overall presentation. Just everything about this game is fantastic, and I'm really having a hard time finding a single thing wrong with it. Sure, you could argue that the challenge is a bit too steep, but the game more than makes up for it with the unlimited continues, so there's really no reason not to keep playing. This was such a wonderful experience for me, and honestly, Bucky O'Hare has probably got itself a nice comfortable spot on my top 10 NES list. It's that good. Anyway guys, thanks for watching as always. I'm DpadDanny. I'll see you next time.